it's in black and white.
No, we got to see the blue. We're rolling.
We're rolling.
We're rolling.
So tell us a little bit about this area, the non-porch area.
Well, the
with the
front of the
house.
house here, if you're looking at the front of the house, the original part of the house was built in or about 1777. And then the American Revolution was over. Peace had been established. But yet the border in this part of Vermont and New York was still being disputed between the Brits and the Americans. And, you know, the border's right over there in Hebron, just a few miles away. So the New Yorkers decided that they were going to support they wanted to build a church here. So they sent 12 or 14 families over here. They built what's the Congregational Church, what's now the Congregational Church. It's the oldest church here in Vermont that's still functioning. And they built, you know, you had 12 or 14 families over the course of 7 or 8 years here that, you know, kind of created their lives. And they were farmers, and they were builders, and they built houses. And can you imagine 12 to 14 families? You got kids, you got moms and dads. The structures, these are huge post and beam homes. They had no tools, they had no technology, yet they built these structures that have lasted for hundreds of years. This home happens to be the home of the parson, who was, you know, like the priest or the minister of the church. And when we moved in, you know, these old farmhouses, they had lots of bedrooms, and upstairs there were like 4 bedrooms. And some friends of ours came over who were kind of into history, and they looked around and they said, you got to get rid of all this. All the lath and plaster and the wallboard, and you got to tear all this thing down because you need to expose the post and beams, and they're massive upstairs, massive post and beams. So we've done that. In the interim, a couple of years ago, we sleep actually in our dining room. Most people eat in their dining room. We sleep in it. That's, you know, we feel like college kids, and we're still camped out in the front of the house. Woke up one morning about 4 o'clock in the morning, kind of was startled from my sleep, and I woke up and I looked up, and there was a woman standing at the corner of the bed looking down at us with her arms folded. Appeared to be somewhat of a German, maybe a German kind of a woman, rather large lady, a babushka in her head, around her head, full apron, flowing dress, and she's looking at me and smiling. And Deneen, my wife Deneen, on a couple of occasions, or at least one occasion, woke up and saw 2 dogs laying down on the ground in front of the bathroom, and one of the dogs got up and went into the bathroom and came out. And she's also seen, I guess, a guy go in and out. And one day, I don't know, I think it was last summer, I hear Deneen going, Ross, you upstairs, you upstairs? I'm out in the garage. And I come into the house and she said, were you upstairs? I'm like, no. She said, well, there's somebody walking around upstairs. So we have friendly ghosts here, and they look over us, and we're cool with it.
You're cool with it?
We're very cool with it, yeah.
So do you think these people would have hung out on a porch on this house at all?
Absolutely. When we bought the place, actually just recently, like within the last week, the fellow that we bought the house from, when he bought this house in 1960-61, there was a full porch along here.
Oh, wow.
And it pretty much had been, well, great stories here. There was a family there that lived there, and this whole area in here, they were commercial raspberry growers. They were commercial.
Oh, wow.
And the second floor of this house, they kept chickens in.
No.
And I didn't believe that. They said that there was like a ramp going up from one of the windows, and they kept hundreds of chickens in the house. And I really didn't believe that. But when I was cleaning out all the crap, pardon me, all the junk from upstairs, when I was peeling all the walls and stuff away, I started pulling out feathers and eggshells and chicken manure. And
really?
Oh, absolutely.
Hey.
So, you know, the house has gone through a metamorphosis. But we're told that up until 1960, there was a full porch across here. And this type of architecture, this colonial home, there would have been, and it was removed, there would have been 4 windows across the top and 4 windows across the bottom to let in light, and a full porch going across. And my neighbor tells me recently, last week, that he has pictures of this house when he bought it with a full porch on it, and he may find them someday and he may not.
You couldn't ask him to look for them for the porch.
I-
Tell him about the Porch Pieces project.
I did. I actually did ask him forcefully to look for them, and he kind of said, I don't know, we'll see if I ever get around to going through all the storage boxes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has a book, like an album that he shows us a lot of photos, but we haven't seen that
So
one.
that's kind of the history of this place. And it's,
Fantastic.
all of the maple trees around the perimeter of the property, the first year we were here, I tapped for sap, and I boiled syrup, and I was told that these trees had never been tapped
Oh,
in
wow.
anybody's memory, and the amount of sap that came out of these trees just kept coming and coming and coming.
Had you done that before?
I'd never done it before, and I tapped and hung
Exciting.
buckets. I tapped and hung buckets, and I had a crap load of sap, and I boiled it and boiled it and boiled it, got about a gallon of syrup, and I'm never doing it again.